And I think we are in. The doors are opening. For all of you that are joining us today, as we wait to get more viewers on, if you can just do a shout out, let us know where you guys are tuning in from. E kalahuie, e alamai kako, mahe oko.
Aloha.
So we'll let some more people join in. We got up to 30 attendees right now coming in via Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, we can hear them.
So we have from Kapa'a, Kauai. Yes. We also have from Mauna Lua here on Oahu. From Waimalu. Oh, and poor Rossi Fukino. She never put where she was from, but I know she's from Kauai. Aloha maipua. Oh, aloha e manti ma helu moa. Ma Waikiki and Kapolei, Kaneohe. And the hostess with the mostest, Miss Maliano Briga Oliveira, tuning in
Hey.
from Hanapepe, West Side, Kauai. Mahalo no Malia for being instrumental in setting up this platform for all of us to utilize. Yeah, oh, and we have from Lahaina also coming in. From Maui. Oh, mahalo nui, everyone, for joining in today. And as you come on, don't be shy. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Aloha mai kako. O no ho'i o Mehana Okala Hind. My name is Mehana Hind, and this show is Aloha Rising. It's brought to you by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and our community engagement team, our community outreach, and our digital print media management team are coming together to help all of us get a better understanding of what's laid before us right now, right? We are entering the season of elections, right? We are entering probably one of the most intense times, usually in any election years, of civic engagement. Yeah, so we're gonna bring you this series over the next few weeks, next few months, maybe, in which each week we will feature a different topic, hopefully that inspires and encourages all of us as a Lahui to engage in our communities, engage in our counties, yeah, and all across our pae'aina, right, for the betterment of our people, because what's good for Hawaiians is good for everybody in Hawaii, yeah. So today's show, right before we start, I'd just like to let everybody know some housekeeping. You know, we're going to be taking questions eventually as we move through the presentation. We'll be taking questions. So if you are joining us on Zoom, you can put your questions there. And if you are on social media, on Facebook and on YouTube, if you could leave your questions on the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Facebook. We'll be closely monitoring that one for questions. We mahalo all of our partners today that have joined us in cross-posting this program across onto their platforms. We have the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. Of course, Kanaio Kana, right? The ones who, and Hawaii Nui Akea, who came together to start this platform up. So we mahalo them. We also have Mana Mele and Mana Maoli on here sharing this rich content with all of us throughout these past weeks and going into the future. So mahalo for all of you, and no matter what platform you're joining on, aloha mai, aloha mai, aloha mai. And again, if you want to post some questions, if you can do that in the Zoom platform that we have going, and also in the Office of Hawaiian Affairs one. And that way we can kind of consolidate our eyes on questions coming forward. Yeah. So now that we're through with the housekeeping, I just wanted to give you guys an update of what's going on with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. This Saturday, we are going to be introducing a new half an hour TV show on KGMB, and it's called Ola Kahaloa. And it's the Oha News Show. It's only half an hour long, but we have a bunch of segments on there that feature both things that are going on within the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and also things of interest to the Lahui, and bringing other community members and community initiatives and bringing them in front of you to enjoy. So join us on Ola Kahaloa on KGMB this Saturday for the first episode in a 4-part episode. And that would be at 6 p.m. It'll also encore on Sunday at 12:30 p.m. on KHNL, and Tuesday at 7 p.m. on K5. Yeah, so if you missed this Saturday, come and join us, on Sunday and on Tuesday on those other stations. And know that if you ever need any more information about what you saw on that show, we have set up a webpage for it, and it's at oha.org/olakahaloa. Yeah, or you can just look at our main page at oha.org and get more information on anything that we bring forward to you, Ekalahui. Okay, now we're gonna go, I wanted to also do a shout out to our friends here and across across the nation doing the census work, that really important Census 2020 work. If you haven't done so already, families, get out there, do the census, right? Do the census. We are feeling the effects of what that information that is contained and those numbers that are being garnered from census information right now, right? That's the way the federal government kind of determines and decides, right, which spaces, around the United States get allocated funding, very much needed funding, right? And another beautiful thing about the census is that it's super short. It's only 9 questions long, 9, not 100. I know, I thought it was 100, but it's only 9 questions. Yeah, so super, super easy to fill out, super quick. Should not take you more than 5 minutes to do, right? And they're not as mahaoi as I originally thought that the census was, right? They ask questions, but all of it is, again, better to help serve our communities, and especially our communities that are hardest hit during times like this, but also in what is considered normal times. That kind of assistance, whether it's free lunch programs at the schools that need it the most, those kind of things are so important for us to get funding for. Yeah. So mahalo to all the initiatives here in Hawaii and beyond to get our Hawaiians to be able to sign up for the census, yeah, and get counted. Okay, now to today's program. Right, we have 2 people from within, they're staff members from here within OHA today, and amazing, amazing people. And I don't say that just because they work for me, right? I would say that even if they didn't work for me. They both have done an outstanding job in the communities throughout, basically throughout their adult lives, right? Have been in service to the Lahui. Our first presenter today is Kumu Hina. Of course, Hina Le Moana Wong. We all know her as Kumu Hina, right? I always tout Kumu Hina as one of only 3 Hawaiians that have a film on Netflix, yep, along with Jason Momoa and Keanu Reeves. But she is much more than that to all of us, right? She has been an educator for all of her life, it seems like, from the time she was young, and of course, more impactful as soon as the charter school movement came out. But she is constantly raising and teaching the next generation of Hawaii. And she's also an award-winning filmmaker, too, to add to her credits. She's also a kumu hula, right? And she's also one of the most fabulous rabble rousers that we have, in our lahui, right? She is there at every time that the lahui is called forward. Kumu Hina is there, right? So we welcome her to the show today. Joining her will be our community outreach manager, Mr. Davis Price. And Davis is a community organizer and advocate, and is currently a manager here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but little known fact, he is a graduate of the William Richardson School of Law. And also, most fondly, what I remember him as a graduate of Kalani Center for Hawaiian Studies, right? So you can see his background, both academically and in the community, has been, his foundation is within the Ohanas and within our family structures and within our communities. Now, I would go as far to say that Davis is on the leading edge of advocating for food sovereignty and food security here in Hawaii, and is instrumental, especially during this time, in gathering all of those who need or who are visioning a different future for us when it comes to food security. Davis is in the core of those discussions, right? So mahalo nui, Davis, for your work also. I'm gonna let it go over to them right now, and we'll have Kumu Hina just kind of introduce yourself a little bit more. I gave a little bit about you, and then also to Davis right after that. Kumu Hina?
Oia, mahalo ia oi me hano kala wahine kui ka hano mahalo. Ke aloha nui a kako a pauloa e kala hui. Mahalo nui a oko ke kipa ana mai ke ia manawa live noho i o mako ma ke ena malama kuleana o na Hawaii. O wau no o Kumu Hina. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you all today, and I look forward to our engage over this next hour. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kumu Hina. Davis?
Mahalo, mehana, boss, and Kumu Hina. Likewise, I look forward to the lively discussion today, hopefully, and the discussions to come as we really mount up and make some big changes with this election and the elections to come. I'm excited. I think our people are motivated. I think we've got our eyes on the prize, and we're going to hold them more. We're going to rock and roll. So let's get it on.
Awesome. You can tell Davis's style. He's ready to get it on, get into it, and I want to help lead us into this discussion just to give you a preview of what's happening today. So we're going to start off with an engaging discussion about our ali'i from Ikawaka Hiko, Umi, and Liloa. Actually start from the top, from Liloa, then down to Umi, right? And talking a little bit about those dynamics, right, that happen, and that which is a rich example of how ali'i behavior, right, has transcends into the generation and even till today, of what we should expect in leadership, right? And then Davis will give us, a great outline. This is like a kilohi, right? This is just a glance into our history, because we could talk about this for days and days and days. In fact, at the university, we have whole classes dedicated, 16 weeks of classes, and even that's not enough, right? So Davis will take us through the period of time where we start seeing ali'i like Kuhio, right? And our great heroes of our time, Willie Koki, right? And how that is moving, towards this time of civic engagement today. And then we're going to round out today's session with a Papa Mele, a Papa Oli chant class, a Mele class by Kumu Hina. And I love the chant that she will be teaching today. The variation that I learned of this chant is one of my favorite chants in the world to do, because it is very practical. It is something that every ohana can use in their daily life, and it can be used in situations that are the toughest situations to get through, and it can also be used in the daily context, right? So please stick around. You do not want to miss that. For all of you at home who have never chanted before, this is the area that you will feel comfortable with Kumu Hina as she guides you through this mele, right? And we want you to use this mele, right? You don't have to be the best chanter in the world to be able to incorporate these mele into your daily lives, right? So that's super important. And if you are a great chanter, mahalo nui, right? You will also gain from the insight of this mele. So mahalo nui, let's start with Kumu Hina. Kumu, can you please guide us through your presentation? Liloa and Umi.
Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. E no ka manawa kako e nau e aku ai. Kumai e na kanaka. I say to you all, rise up, stand up, my fellow Hawaiians. It is time for us to assume our responsibilities and undertake our duties. And in order to fulfill that, today's story and today's sharing brings us to the story of a great chief. And before I go into this great chief, you might say, well, why is it that I have to listen to this story? What is it that it's going to do for me? You might say, who am I? I'm not anybody special. And my response to you would be that you and I, we are no better, no worse. I'm not anyone special either, but together, you and I will make a difference. And what I mean by that is when we as Kanaka are able to fully utilize our voice, when we hapai our leo, and when we utilize the system, whether or not, especially for those Kanaka out there, whether or not we may agree with the system, whether we may not like the system, one thing is for sure, when we engage in that system, there is great, great potential for us to implement the change that we would like to see. And with that said, e holomua noho i kako, moving forward, holomua kako i ka mo'olelo no umi ali loa. Oli loa he ali inui no oia no ka aino o Waipio ma Hawaii. O pinea kānawa hine, ano kulana ki e kulana ali'i. Liloa, the great chief of Waipio, his wife of noble rank was named Pinea. Their son, Kanakeki Hiapo, their son Hakau, was intended to be the rightful ruler once Liloa's time on this, in these islands was done. And we're going to hear about what that journey was. Liloa, having been the kind of loving and giving chief that he was, he often liked to journey, hele awana ki I hele, and he found himself going into the countrysides, and he came upon a most beautiful wahine, o kona inoa o Akahia Kuleana. Now, Akahia Kuleana was not as high-ranking as his wife Pinea, but she too was, in her own way, not only beautiful, but she was also descended on a side of her family from Ali'i descent. And so he took up with her for a time. Noho no laua, ho'onenea, ho'olau no noho I laua, mana ano a paulo o ka noho kane me wahine. From their time spent together comes forward Chief Liloa's second son. And when Chief Liloa finds that Akahia Kuleana is hapai, he says to her, if you should give birth to a keiki mahine, please name her for your side of the family. But as the story would have it, and as I mentioned it earlier, that this was now the coming of his second son, and thus he was named for Chief Liloa's side of the family. His name became Umi a Liloa. And young Umi, growing up in the household of his mother, one day found himself being a little kolohe to the point where Akahia Kuleana's husband felt the need to discipline him. But upon doing so, Akahia Kuleana said, "Aole, aole, aole. Mai oe kaukou lima aole oe pai oe keiki." And she said not to admonish this child in this way because he was the child of the chief. Pu iwa no ka hoi o Kanakane, Mikela no hoi. Wa mau popo no, ka manawa no paha keia, no ka ho'o makakau pono ana, e ho'ona aku ya Umi a Liloa, I kona makua kane pono I. Came time to ensure that he was ready and that he would be able to journey to join the court of his father. So Akahia Kuleana's instructions were to Umi that he must seek out the court, the kulana kauhale ali'i, kono makokane, he must seek out his father's court, and that when he would reach there, he was not to enter in through the front door, but instead enter in through the back door. And now we Kanaka and Kama'aina, we know this very well because we still observe this kind of practice today. The front door is observed for very formal visits, and sometimes the living room is set aside for very formal visits, but other than that, everybody goes through the garage or the kitchen door, and everybody ends up staying outside in the garage or in the yard. So anyway, moving back to the story. Now, Umialiloa finds his way into the Kauhale Ali'i, and he goes straight to his father's lap as his mother instructed him to do so, and he sits down. Nohoi holo no oya, maluna ka uha okona makuakane. Lo and behold, the chief's royal court sees that, there is yet another. They realize who he is, and because he is the chief's son, he now must be welcomed into courtly life. Umialiloa, however, didn't necessarily take to being in that kind of realm because he came from humbler beginnings. And he wasn't really, how do we say it? He wasn't really seeing himself fit to be doing all of these chiefly duties and living that kind of life. And so he chose to do what his father once did, and he went through the countrysides. Hele awanaki hele, launa no oya mina po'ea pauloa. He met with all different kinds of people, and everybody that he met, they were taken and captivated by his personality. He was kind and he was giving, and he was a chief in his own right because he and everybody who joined him, they availed themselves to the service of those whom they came upon. And they helped to open up lo'i and clear roadways and do all kinds of things that helped other people. And for this, he became extremely well known and very well loved by all the people in the realm. Now, when we think of birthright and we think of awamo kuleana, we know that in our traditional culture, Kanaka culture, the understanding is the firstborn, especially since the firstborn also comes from a high-ranking wife, that it would and should be Hakau's kuleana to assume the chieftainship upon the passing of Liloa. Lo and behold, Liloa's time comes to pass, and indeed, Hakau ascends to being the ali'i of the land. The people, however, felt differently about the kind of chief that he became. Instead of becoming the kind of leader and the kind of person with a heart that his father had, he was quite oppressive instead to the people. And he burdened the people. He taxed them far beyond what was prudent and maikai. Waloko ino no oya a ole oya maikai I kapoe noho ane iluno kaaina no leila. The people decided that they as a cumulative must usurp this opportunity. They must stand up. They must rise to the occasion, because if they don't, they will continue to live in an extremely oppressive and unjust and unfair kind of climate and environment. So what did they do? Helelako, hulilako ya umialiloa. They went in search and they found him. And when we think of what happens next, next slide, please. When we think of what happens next, again, ikahala ana no o Liloa, o vaila ana ke ali'i hou. O hakau kahiapo a ka ano na e he ali'i loko ino. O umialiloa ka elua na keiki, ahe maikai, ahe olu no nae oia. So exactly what's going to happen and who will rise to leadership. Now that brings me to why I chose this particular mo'olelo to share with you, because those of you out there in listener land and the viewer world, I'm sure that you're thinking, well, what is going to happen? Because it rightfully goes to the eldest son. In this case, the people assume responsibility for their lives and their livelihood. And although it's not always something that was frequently seen, we do know that this has occurred in our history. And we see that umi is brought back, and the people rise up and they get rid of their nasty afo ali'i. They remove him from power, and rightfully so. Umiali Loa is the chief that they must now instill into place, because he is son of Liloa. Next slide, please. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for you and I, the people of the Lahui? Eia no ka manawa kako e kuai iluna a ku'e. Ku'e na maka'ainana ku'e a ho'oi kaika a ho'okupa'a. Ka kako mau mea e hanai. Ho'ala, e ala mai e ka Lahui a ho'olokahi no i kako. Ho'oka mau a ho'okupa'a. Ho'oponopono a ho'omaikai. Me ka ha'amahalo, me ka ho'omau. What is it that we must do? Not only must we stand up and resist, but we must insist that leadership reflects the values and reflects that which we believe is indicative of the essence of us as Kanaka and our home here in Hawaii. Next slide, please. And so, just like the verse, a very, very popular mele, e na wei mua na poki ia e inu wai awa awa e vivo ole ho okupa'a a ohe hope e ho'i mai ai a na i wale no ka kou ka u ko e mau I ke ala au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini. And the words of that verse say, forward, young brothers and sisters, drink of the bitter waters, be fearless and be ever steadfast, for there is no turning back. Let us move forward and champion all that stands in front of us in the roadways. For the foreigners and the newcomers, they do not understand our word and our concept of aloha. Thus, the question nahui, he halaka hopena for us as Lahui Kanaka. What will be the fate of us as Hawaiians? I leave that out there for you to decide. Now remember, in the story of Umiali Loa, Liloa, a great chief, a time of prosperity and peace in his kingdom. When his son rose to power, he was not that same chief, and the people did something about it because they did not like his rule. They put in Umiali Loa in his place, and they took accountability and responsibility for what they needed to do. That is well within our power to do today. And in order to conceptualize this just a little bit more, fellow viewers out there, I am going to now shift gears, and I'm going to toss the baton. As you can see here on the slide, ho'ala ho'olokahi, ho'oka maua ho'okupa'a, ho'oponopono ho'omaikai, ha'amahalo ho'omau. Those are just a little bit of a teaser to what we have coming up next in our upcoming presentations. But for now, we will put that on hold. Alia iki ho'omanawa nui ho'ikako, eia no ka manawa, hiki mai ai ia Davis Bryce. Take it away, boss.
You know, Mahalo Hina for that. And Davis, sorry, I can just jump in real quick and to just address one of the comments that is coming in off of our Zoom platform. And I think this comment fits right into what Hina was saying, right? And this is coming from Miriam, and she says, the Kanaka must run for office in the Lahui in order for that switch over to happen, right? For those who you may feel may not, belong in power, we need to have people actively engaging at that level too, not just voting, but also running for office and taking that kind of brave step forward, and courageous step forward into the arena so that our people can make good decisions when they're voting. Yeah, so mahalo nui for that. I don't see any questions coming in right now offline, but everybody, again, just if you weren't here at the top of the show, if you have a question, feel free to post it in the Zoom in the Zoom meeting, and or go to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Facebook page to post your questions there. Yeah, and we'll be scanning throughout to look at questions coming from the audience and or comments. Yeah, so mahalo nui for all of you who have joined us today. And yeah, we'll move over into Davis now. Mahalo, Davis, take it away.
Aloha, mahalo. Can you hear me? Mic check.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Mahalo Hina for that. Mahalo always for your energy and the liveliness and the mana which you bring to all the topics you discuss. Greatly appreciated. And a great reminder, the story of Umi, about the power of the people. Yeah, the wherewithal of the Maka'ai Nana to recognize what actions they must take when an unfit or when an unfit leader is at the reins. Yeah, and so kind of transitioning, I'm gonna fast forward quite a bit to another snapshot of a period of time in our history, and really focus on a handful of individuals that I started to learn about, as a teenager, and really piqued my interest in our political history and just our history in general. In the sense that it inspired me, it motivated me when I heard the stories of these folks. And they're just a handful of many key figures in our history, and just a real short period of time, but a very important period of time, a time of great transition, a time of great turmoil for our lahui. But there's great stories of resilience in each of these individuals, and great lessons to be learned. So I'll jump right into it and start off with, next slide, Joseph Navahi. So Joseph Navahi, or Navahi Kalani Opu'u, was born in 1842. He was a patriot, a lawyer, an artist, a newspaper publisher, a political organizer, a renowned orator, and he was a legislator in the Kingdom of Hawaii. He was elected to represent the town of Hilo in 1872, and he served 9 consecutive terms. So basically, he served in the Kingdom legislature until the time of the illegal overthrow. After the overthrow, he and his wife Emma founded the Hui Aloha Aina political organization and launched the Ke Aloha Aina Nupepa. So there was a newspaper that they launched to cover the news of the time and provide a voice for the Native Hawaiian people, for the community that was against what was happening and what was being carried out by the Big Five. And so the formation of Hui Aloha Aina and the establishment of the Ke Aloha Aina Nupepa were both done in support of restoration of the monarchy and to oppose annexation. For his political organizing activities, the provisional government, which led by Sanford Dole and Lauren Thurston, obviously partook in the illegal act of overthrowing the kingdom, and shortly thereafter, declared themselves the Republic of Hawaii. They imprisoned Navahi for his political activity. And unfortunately, he was imprisoned in 1894, where he contracted tuberculosis and passed away in 1896. And so while his life was cut short and a lot of potential lost, I want to recognize that he's in his lifetime, and especially at that later stage where he really stood up pillars of political organizing that carried a legacy for him, and that carried, allowed our community, or the Lahui at that time, to organize and mobilize politically. So we'll come back and kind of tie that in to the rest of this discussion in a few minutes. But moving on to another inspirational figure for me, Robert Kalani Hiapo Wilcox, or as fondly referred to as Vilikoki, or the Lion of the Pacific, born in 1855. He was born on Maui to his father, who was an American sailor, and his mother, who was a descendant of Maui Ali'i. He also served multiple stints as an elected representative in the Kingdom Legislature. He also launched a newspaper entitled The Liberal, and probably most famously led 2 armed rebellions around the time of the overthrow. First was the Wilcox Rebellion in 1889, which was done in an effort to overturn the Bayonet Constitution of 1887, which was forced upon King Kalakaua by the Big Five, by the sugar industry, which essentially disenfranchised the Hawaiian people and was a power grab for those sugar interests. And then he led another one that was coined the 1895 Rebellion in 1895 to overturn the provisional government, which by that time had declared itself the Republic of Hawaii. He also was imprisoned for treason by the Republic in 1895 and sentenced to death for his role in that armed rebellion. He was later pardoned, and just a short 5 years after that rebellion in 1895, when the territorial government was stood up, he was the first elected congressional delegate to represent Hawaii in the United States Congress. And we'll get back more to that in a few minutes as well. Moving on, a couple more very integral figures of that time, the brothers David Piikoi Kawananakoa, born in 1868, and Prince Jonah Kuhio Kalani Anaole, born in 1871. Both were raised on Kauai and were the Hanai sons of Kalakaua and Kapiolani. Both were heirs to the throne. In their adolescent years, they were sent to California to be educated, where, fun fact, interestingly enough, they introduced the world to surfing. These 2 gentlemen were the first 2 individuals to surf, as we know it, outside of Hawaii. So, as we know now today, surfing has become a global sport, but it is one in which that we can claim as a national sport, home only in Hawaii. And in fact, it was set to be an Olympic sport in this upcoming Olympics, which obviously have been postponed due to COVID, but we'll see how that plays out. So we can mahalo them for introducing our traditional sport to the world. Another anecdotal story that speaks to their experiences is one that Kuhio writes about in his memoirs later in his life. And that is when he was traveling on the continent and experienced racism head on, in which he was referred to as the N-word, and he slugged the person that called him that. And I bring that up because these were high-ranking ali'i, very high-ranking lineage, highly educated, and like other ali'i who traveled abroad during that time, they encountered racism and mistreatment head-on, here and abroad. And to me, that gives us insight to what made them beloved by their people. Yeah, despite the adversity they faced, the mistreatment that they faced, they never lost sight of their identity, their Hawaiian identity, and actually made that a platform for their leadership. And lastly, both of them were also implicated in the rebellion of 1895 and were imprisoned along with the Queen for treason. And I used this picture of Kuhio for that reason. This was a picture of him while he was imprisoned. And both of them were sentenced to death and later pardoned. Now, moving on, this next individual, Princess Kaiulani, Princess Victoria Kaiulani, born in 1875. I included her in this presentation because we don't normally think of her as a political figure. Yeah, she's obviously regarded as, one of the babies of the Kalakaua dynasty, the Navai Eha, which is Kalakaua and his brothers and sisters, are Navai Nalani Eha, Kalamai.
Yeah, Nalani
Thinking about the
Eha.
water case.
Maikai.
Thinking about the water case fresh in my
No,
mind.
Maikai. Actually, naming them Navai Eha, they were very vai. I get where your mind was going with that. And we just had the Supreme Court, discussion the other day on that. But yeah, Nalani Eha.
Nalani Eha. So she was the niece of Kalakaua, born to Princess Miriam Likelike and Archibald Cleghorn. And again, so she's often regarded as this regal figure, beautiful, young, also heir to the throne. But we don't talk about her political activism. And really, I included this because it was her political advocacy that gained her notoriety here in Hawaii and internationally. So at the time of the overthrow, she was in her adolescent years, being educated in England, residing there, and she was 17 years old in 1893. And upon, subsequent to the overthrow that year, she traveled to New York City to advocate for the restoration of the kingdom. She arrived in New York City. She gained international attention, won the hearts of the people there, got all types of international media coverage, and then went on to Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., she met with President Grover Cleveland. She won him over. And as the result of her advocacy and the Queen's advocacy, President Cleveland ordered the leaders of the Republic to restore the kingdom. Unfortunately, we all know Sanford Doe, the Big Five, the Republic, they did not comply. So, and it's important to note that while her efforts and the efforts of others were not successful in securing restoration, they were successful for the time being to fend off annexation. And I bring that point up because annexation wasn't just being discussed at the time of the overthrow. There were annexationists in Hawaii from the 1830s and 1840s. Yeah, they were talking annexation at the time of the Mahele. Yeah, and so, the political agency of our ali'i, of our people, really, fended that off for many, many years, decades. And on the flip side of that, you look at the folks that were advocating for annexation. They were persistent, and they were emboldened as time went on. They infiltrated the kingdom government and ultimately executed their goal. So, this brief initial part of the presentation, this discusses what some of the leaders were doing at that time. So what were the people or the maka'ainana doing at this time? Well, they got organized. Yeah, Hui Aloha Aina, which was established by Navahi and his wife Emma, and the Hui Kalai Aina. This is just one example of the organization that was going on at the grassroots level. Yeah, these two organizations formed to empower the voice of the people. This was prior to the advent of air travel, telephones, internet, all of those things. Yeah, and they set out to achieve the immense feat of garnering signatures of a large majority of the Hawaii residents to oppose annexation. So nearly 4,000 signatures are secured, and the Ku'e petitions are sent to Washington, D.C. in 1897 to oppose annexation. This effort in that year was successful. The United States Congress did not take up the vote for annexation. Unfortunately, in 1898, war breaks out with Cuba, in the Caribbean, and in the Philippines. And a number of island nations are annexed in order to secure strategic military position to support American interests in these wars. So, despite the successful efforts of the Hawaiian people and our leaders to fend off annexation in the years prior, President Cleveland, who was a supporter of the Queen and restoration, was replaced by McKinley, who unfortunately we have a statue of at our high school right in the middle of Honolulu, who was an imperialist. He was an expansionist. He was a firm believer and advocate of the doctrine of manifest destiny. And so those things, his role coupled with the threat of war was much to overcome. And so Hawaii was annexed in 1898. And so, what did our leaders do at that time? Yeah, did they give up? Well, in my opinion, the answer is no. They continued to organize and they continued to advocate. So in 1899, next slide. In 1899, the territorial government is forming, and there's concern that Hawaiians would not have the right to vote under the elections of that government. So Kaiulani, this is the year that she also passed away, a very young woman, 23 years old, and other leaders take up the mantle of advocating for the Native Hawaiian right to vote. She travels to Washington, D.C., who's ultimately the decision maker under the territorial government structure, and she advocates for justice for her people and ensuring that they have the right to vote under this new government structure. She's successful. The Native Hawaiian right to vote is secured, and now we have this election. And three parties are formed. Three political parties are formed to participate in this first election, which would determine the first congressional delegate to represent Hawaii in the US Congress. The three parties are led by none other than three of the men who were jailed just 5 years earlier trying to restore the throne. Piikoi launches the Democratic Party, Wilcox launches the Home Rule Party, and Kuhio launches the Republican Party. They are also the three front-runner candidates for this election. Wilcox, the rebel, wins the first election, and he is Hawaii's first US congressional delegate. Unfortunately, he passes away in 1902 before the next election, and but Kuhio is there and wins the election that year and every election thereafter until his death in 1922. Kuhio, amongst other achievements, famously passes the Hawaiian Homelands Commission Act in 1920. And why is this important? And I share this story, and I want to point out that if for the experts out there that have studied this era, this was a very complex time. Not all of these men or leaders agreed with each other on the approaches on how to move our lahui forward. However, when I look at this, just looking at this slide, it tells me what comes to mind is brilliant strategy. Yeah. No matter who won, a Hawaiian was going to win. And, these were all individuals who were jailed for rebellious efforts to restore the throne just 5 years prior to this. Next slide. And what does that mean? And why is that important? And to me, their capacity to adapt and adjust during this tumultuous time is profound. Yeah, under all the adversity and all the pressure that I'm sure they're facing, I can't understand what that must have felt like, or what our leaders or that the lahui was going through. But they showed resilience and a very astute ability to maneuver politically and adapt and adjust. As some examples that I touched on here are, they utilized media. They understood the value of having a distinct Hawaiian voice. They empowered the lahui. They set up organizations that empowered the people. Navahi stood up Hui Aloha Aina. Kuhio, later in his life, stood up the Hawaiian civic clubs that were intended to get our people organized, to advocate, understanding that our people had to have a voice and it couldn't just be the leaders alone. They used their platforms to be fierce advocates for the people. Yeah, and ultimately they led with a heart for the people. Yeah, and tying it back to the story of Umi, one of the things that Hina mentioned is that the people recognized that Hakau did not possess that heart. Yeah, he did not possess the passion for the people that they expected and required of their leaders. So they replaced them. Yeah, and these individuals that I just shared with you, they were beloved. If you read the stories and the experts, excerpts from our Nupepa, from historians' accounts, they were politically active. They did not agree. They debated fiercely, but they all had a common cause of leading with a heart for the people. And to me, that's very relevant today still yet. Yeah, and ultimately, what I see in their ability to adapt and adjust and holomua and onipa'a was that they never gave up. Yeah, Wilcox was unsuccessful in 2 armed rebellions. He never gave up. Yeah, Kaiulani was unsuccessful in trying to get the throne restored, but they never gave up. Yeah, and I think there's ha'awina there for all of us today. So I'll wrap this up with, kind of trying to, at least from my perspective, in my opinion, answer why this is relevant today. Next slide. How is it relevant? Well, we can disagree, and I'm sure there's experts out there that do, on the various approaches that they took. But what we can take away is a few things that is very clear, and that is that they were engaged, they were organized, they participated, and they persisted. Yeah, those are all things that we can do today. Yeah, all of them. And while our capacity individually is limited, not everybody can run for office. Not everybody can go organize one petition drive. Not everybody can go organize their community. However, these are all separate tools in the toolbox. Yeah, and everybody get one tool they can pick up. Not everybody is one carpenter. Some guys are electricians. Some folks are, teachers. We all have different tools we can utilize. And one tool that is very simple for all of us to utilize is the vote. Yeah, and I know that this is a topic and a tactic that has been subject to debate for many years. And I'm not here to say anybody's right or wrong for voting or not voting. However, recognize that it is a tool, and it is a tool that can be easily used. It is a weapon that can be easily wielded by any of us. And the process is even getting simpler this year with the all-mail voting process. And we will touch on that more after Hina does her Papa Mele. But mahalo, everybody, for taking the time. Those of you who have tuned in, and those of you who will watch this for the days, weeks, months, years, potentially to come. Mahalo nui. The internet, we live forever. Hopefully that works out for us.
Mahalo.
But, mahalo nui and oni pa'amo.
Mahalo, Davis, for that. One of the last things you said was about the tool chest, right? And one of the comments that we got in from our Zoom participants, I think connects well with that, right? And she says, elected officials were always intended to be microphones, a tool used to amplify the voice of the body that elected them. Right, and I thought that was very poignant to connect to what you said. She also asked about where can people go to volunteer to get involved, right, and to help out the cause, not only with elections, but just to, with people running for office, right? I know my advice would be, find out who inspires you that is running right now, right? Look for those people in your community. And if there's people who inspire you that aren't running for elections, you might want to persuade them, right? The last day to sign up as a candidate is June 1st, 2nd?
1st, I believe. June 1st.
Yeah, June 1st, right around there. So you can have, you can encourage them to sign up, and then, yeah, reach out to those leaders that align with the things that you want to see happen in your community, that makes your community healthy, that makes our Hawaii healthy for all of us, yeah? And then I'm sure as elections get closer and closer, more initiatives that are going to be seeking volunteers are going to make themselves known. Davis, but talking about what you had said earlier, there's one question, and I think it's relevant here, and it says, can you say that Wilcox, this is referring to Wilcox, right, led a rebellion if he was actually defending a government which had been illegally overthrown, right? And so now this is when we start getting into semantics and language, right, and how important language was, right? And I think we've used rebellion all these years, but I think there's definitely some justification to that sentiment that, hey, no, he was protecting, right? He was doing what was right. So rebellion kind of casts Wilcox into a shadow that we may, now in hindsight are like, oh yeah, no, that wasn't the case, right? But what do you think about that? Because that was also brought up with the term annexed, right? Were we overthrown? Were we annexed? Or was our kingdom stolen? Right, so there's variations of that kind of language. Do you have any thoughts just about the use of different languages
I think
or
it's a great
verbiage.
point. I think it's a great point, and that goes to, you know, who's telling the story of your history, right? Who's writing the history books? All the more reason, you know, another role to engage is right. You know, tell the stories and use our voice. Um, Tell the stories from a position of our perspective. You know, it's exactly, you know, that's a great point. Was it a
Right.
rebellion? And and technically, no, but technically, possibly, they were the power at the time. They had power, and there was rebelling against that power. But it was in defense of what they thought was just and right. And in history, you know, in hindsight, we can't say they was fighting for justice. They were fighting to protect the lahui, to restore the mana of our people and of our ali'i. And yeah, I think it's a great point. And
You know, and Davis, the reason why I brought it out, one is to give voice to our audience out there, right? To
mhm,
let them know that we're paying attention to their comments and we do take them very seriously. But two, also to talk about how our arriving towards different terminologies and our different perspectives away, it has grown, right, over time and moves through. And for some people, it's a personal journey on how they've acclimated to our history, how, you know, who they were taught by, and how it is that they gain a perspective on our history and build our foundation so that we can then jump off in 2020, right, and holomua with a better understanding of what our history was, but also how we're gonna use that in our tool chest, right, to build a foundation for us today to stand on that foundation that was there, right? And so I think that's important too, that to know that there's different terminologies out there, and it's people at different places under different contexts utilizing terms, but that is a great a thing to call out, and we can all help each other, you know, with that kind of understanding. So mahalo to our participants out there in
mahalo.
Zoom land and social media for having those questions. Now I would like to turn it over to Hina for, you know, the part of the this show that excites me more than anything else, because I love Mele and I love Oli, right? So join us all now as we turn back to Kumu Hina to walk us through this Mele and give
Mahalo.
voice to these magnificent, wonderful words.
Mahalo, Mehana. Before I begin, I just wanted to give a shout out there to all of those of you who consider yourselves, those of us who share in the passion of being Aloha Aina. And I ask all of you to consider our opportunity to utilize the information that we have, whether it be that you got it from today's program or whether you've been a long time uh, woken and aware person who has stood in pursuit of loving our land and our people. This is our time. So let us not pass up this opportunity. In looking to this mele, e kulani hakoi. Kulani hakoi, the legendary mythical place right there in the sky, in the heaven, just far away where you know it's there and you can see it, but you can't touch it. But this legendary place from which gushes forth tremendous amounts of rain. E kulani hakoi, kaumailai luna e hu. Aua maila a aua. And the rain comes forth. A kupu maila a kupu. And sprouting things now begin to sprout. A mu'o maila a mu'o. And things that are going to become a bud, they will show themselves forth. Aliko maila aliko, in the earliest stages of this growth, that budding stage, the liko comes out. Alau maila alau, the leaves, they start to unfurl and they open up. Alala mai, alala maila alala, and the branches reach out. I think you can see it on the screen. Akumu maila akumu, and what starts off as as that young shoot, it grows and grows and becomes broader and wider and thicker and more solid. A kumu hina ole, until this growing living being that becomes a tree, until that trunk becomes so strong, so sturdy that it is immovable, that you cannot topple it down. At least you can't topple it very easy. E ho'olu mai, aulu mai lae.
It's 3 o'clock.
Mahalo. Make it grow, make it grow. Ah, behold, it is grown. So when we think of this mele e kulani hako, it goes something like this. So for those of you out there, kalamai, when people ask, oh, you chant so low, Kumu Hina, I said, yes, this is my chanting voice. So please bring out your chanting voices, everyone, and please join me. E kulani hako I haumai lailuna ehu. Aua mai laha ua, kupu mai laha kupu, amu o mai laha mu o, aliko mai laha liko, alao mai laha lao, alala mai laha lala, akumu mai laha kumu, akumu va'ahina ole. E ho ulu mai, e ho ulu mai, aulu mai lahe kulani hako I kau mai lai luna ehu aua mai laha ua kupu mai laha kupu amu o mai laha mu o aliko mai laha liko alao mai laha lao alala mai laha lala akumu mai laha kumu akumu va'ahina ole. E ho'oulu mai, e ho'oulu mai, aulu mai lahai. Hello everybody, e ku lani hako I, kau mai lai luna ehu. Aua mai laha ua, kupu mai laha kupu, amuko mai laha muko, aliko mai laha liko, alau mai laha lau, alala mai laha lala, kumu mai laha kumu, akumu va'ahina ole. E ho'oulu mai, e ho'oulu mai, aulu mai lahai. Ola. No leila, e kalahu ie, ke ia no ko kako manawa. Kaua no, ka kaua manawa no ke ia, e awa moai I ko kaua kuleana. E like neo me ka olelo o ke ia mele o kulani hakoi. Helele I mai ana no kaua a kupu mai lana no na mea pauloa. A mu'o, a liko, a lau, a lala mai. Aulu ana no ke la kumu, a pa'aloa, pa'ahina ole. No leila, he hala ka kakoumea e hanai, I maikai ai pono ai keia noho ana. What is it that we will do? Given the words of this chant, given the mo'olelo that we heard from Davis, and also given the mo'olelo that is found in the story of the great chief Liloa and his two sons, the Pono son and the not Pono son. Fellow viewers, fellow Kanaka, as well as other Kama'aina and even the Malihini who might be out there in viewer land. No matter what your political perspective, and if you come from a political perspective like mine, which has long been in support of political independence, all of these options before us don't mean that life gets easier. They just mean that we handle things in a different way. So in this program that we're talking about, we support and encourage you to not walk away from this opportunity. Get out there if you haven't registered to vote and make sure that you actually cast your vote. And with that, I'm going to turn the time back over to our big boss, Mehana. Ke olu olu Mehana, take it away.
Mahalo nui Hina. Only Hina can teach a full Papa Oli and get in the leo and everything so people can remember it in 5 minutes. Only her. Hina, you are so gifted in that way. You are known for being the creatress of Mele, you know, for the Lahui, but thank you so much. What is so important about that Mele, and I want to make sure that people understand this, is this Mele is, for us, it's a part of a Mele called Pule Ho'ulu, right? A prayer for growth and abundance. So use this chant. Use this chant, use this chant, use this mele for your ohana. Use it when you gather as a ohana. Use it when you gather with the lahui. Yeah, do not be afraid anymore of your tongue to be able to express that vibration, that vibrato of our ancestors, right? It's carrying through our bones and through our blood memory to bring out in this day. So mahalo hina for introducing that mele to all of
Mahalo.
us. Yeah, and this, if you guys missed this, I see a lot of people commenting that they wish they had joined earlier. They only caught part of it. And or if you want to have this, you know, spread this 5-minute Papa Mele out into, you know, however long it takes you to Ho'opa'ara Mele, know that this broadcast can be found on OHA's page. It'll live also on Kanaokana's page. So you can find it. You can find it in both of those places if you want to go back and review. We are excited about what's, you know, coming forward. Again, if you need more information about what was spoken about today, right, go to oha.org/vote. This will be living on that page also. This broadcast will be living, and all the future episodes will be there. And please, please, please understand these dates, right? Deadline to register to vote is July 9th. Now, if you have not registered to vote, go there and register. If you have registered to vote, if you're like me and you're a registered voter, right, double check. Go and double check. Online, go to our webpage. We'll have a link. You can double check if you are actually, you know, registered. Because it's all mail-in voting, you know, there more than likely won't be a place that you can show up to, you know, last minute and get that part done. So go online, check it out, check if you're registered to vote. And then there's other deadlines that follow that, right? Check your mail for your ballots. And then of course, turn in your ballots for the different elections, right? Today, just going back to kind of highlighting some news today. So today is Thursday, May 7th, all right? And the Board of Trustees for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs at their board meeting earlier today, this morning, made a significant decision to respond to the challenges that our Native Hawaiian community is going through right now during this time of COVID-19. And the news on that and what specifically they approved today, right? They approved over $3 million in aid that's going to go throughout the Pai'aina. Yeah, so tomorrow on oha.org, you can find our press release regarding that. And on Saturday on Ola Kahaloa at 6 p.m. on KGMB, you'll be able to hear directly from our chairwoman, Trustee Colette Machado from the islands of Molokai and Lanai, and also our CEO, Dr. Sylvia Hussey, right? We like to mahalo the trustees, all 9 of our trustees, for, you know, supporting and affording us this opportunity to bring this forward to everyone, you know, so mahalo to all of them. We also like to mahalo people who stood up this platform that everybody's viewing in from, right? Kanaiokana and Hawaii Nui Akea, along with their hostess with the mostest, Miss Maliana Briga Oliveira from Kauai, and a whole team of people from Kanaiokana on the back end, making sure that there's 5 workshops happening consistently every week. And actually, we just added more, right? The aloha to our friends who are doing aikole, which is a Hawaiian language feature that happens, I think, on Wednesdays at noon. And then also our friends from Ahakane who have taken over the slot on Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock. right? So this platform is growing bigger and bigger. Thank you to the vision of those Hawaiians who said, you know what, our people are at home right now. Let us provide them with some ike and some mana'o that they can, you know, feed their minds with and feed their souls with. Yeah, so mahalo. And mahalo all of our partners across, and this is a true effort of all the Native Hawaiian organizations who have kako'o this effort, right, who are simulcasting this on their social media pages. CNHA, Ahakane, Manamaoli, ʻŌiwi TV, yeah, just to name a few of them. So mahalo, a shout out to all of them too. Look to all of those pages too for some great content coming out and some great support coming out from all of them. Let's see. I think I have actually covered everything.
Real quick, I like just
yes.
plug next week's show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Davis.
So tune in. We'll be doing this every Thursday. Next week, we have lined up to our Mo'olelo history, cultural identity, invigoration portion is going to be Dr. Kalani Beamer.
Yay!
Who's written, published work that really tells a story of the political agency of our kupuna. So he will share some historical facts in Mo'olelo that speak to the leadership capacity of our kupuna, and that should be a really entertaining discussion. And then we have we'll dig deeper into some of the snapshots that we provided today in future sessions. So yeah, mahalo nui, keep tuning in, sharing it, and get out there and vote, gang. We gotta get rolling. Like I said in the beginning, let's get it on.
You know what, and Davis, you brought me to another question we have. So Hina, are you going to present another Mele next week also?
Oh, and a Mele.
Yes.
Yeah?
I will be presenting 4 Mele in total. And I'm not going to say which Mele we're going to do, but next week's Mele is going to focus on, number 1, awakening and rising and making sure that our people are, we have the fire lit under us, and also the understanding of uniting and coming together. And since I have the microphone just for a moment, when it comes to coming together, I don't mean coming together that we all have to have the same mana'o. We should have, and we should appreciate diversity of mana'o, because that's how we get to truly see the spectrum of options in front of us. That's how we get to think and analyze and process all that is before us when we have to make a decision. So no, we shouldn't all, I think safe to say that even the Americans are not, they're not always in agreement or accord with one another, and neither should we as Hawaiians. But what we need to do is be of solid heart and solid understanding of who we are as Kanaka. Me ke la no ka mana'o no ka ho'omakaana o ke mele hou no ke puleo no leila ko uleo mahalo anui ho i ke ia e na po e kipa mai nei. Mahalo nui au ko ho'omanawa nui. Back to you, Mehana. Thank you so much to my boss, Davis, and to my big boss, Mehana, because I got to participate in today's Aloha Rising. I am just excited. I can't wait for the next 4 weeks.
Oh no, Hina, and it's not only today. We're gonna every week. Yeah, we're gonna putting. We know we run you hard, but that connection between our mele, right, and our mo'olelo, and what we see happening today, right, has stereotypically been separated, here in Hawaii for a long time, right? We want to bring those elements back together. So it's so important that we have you and Davis, right? I'm just the lady who introduces you guys and brings us out of it, but you guys are really that connection between those pieces so that our audience can have, some good perspective out there about, hey, this is Hawaii. We don't only talk about things, right? We also, our mele and our mo'olelo are very important to that also, especially when we're talking about politics, right? And engaging civically. And so look forward, I'm looking forward to Kamala next week. Yeah. I wanted to let the audience know that this is just, again, just a glimpse, just a glance, right? We just kilohi, we just kind of looking in on any of these topics, right? We encourage you to seek out more information. We encourage you to look up those heroes that we talked about today: Liloa, Umi, Willie Koki, right? Navahi, Kuhio, Kaiulani, right? Look them up, learn more about them, get to know them intimately. They are a part of our ohana, they are a part of our lahui, and their stories should be known in more depth than we can ever do, give justice on a show with this length of time. So again, from all of us here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, we aloha all of you. We welcome you back. Same time, same day next week, Thursday, 2 p.m. Aloha nui kako, ahui ho.
Oh,
Aloha.
yeah, mahalo. Ai, aloha.